Hi, I'm Steve. Welcome back to the Maker's Cave. And today we're going to be doing some Halloween work, and it also ties in with some models too, but mostly this is for the Halloween folks. On a lot of the Halloween boards I belong to, people have been asking, how do I add sound to some static props they bought? They bought a real simple standalone prop, but it doesn't have any sound to it. And they were wondering how to do that. Well, today I'm going to go over that a series, and what we're going to do is we're going to be starting off with this board right here. It has some unique features, like it's got a 5-watt built-in 5-watt audio amplifier. It's got a SD card, and what it does is, in its basic form, it can just play. It plays 7 different sounds when one of these contacts are connected, which I'll show you how to do. But what's really interesting is it has what's called a busy signal. So when one of the songs is playing, this busy signal can actually activate a relay to make a motors or lights or whatever you would like turn on, and then when the particular sound file is done playing, it turns off the relay or shuts the prop down. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to explain exactly what all the features of this board are. Then we're going to come back and I'm going to wire it up and show you how easy it is to use this board to get sound to practically any prop. All right, we'll start off explaining what all the pins, switches, and connectors are on the board. We'll start off on the left side of the board with these. There's 9 pins, and we'll go over them one by one. The first 2 are your power, which is a 5-volt power supply. You don't want to feed any more than 5 volts into this board. The next 8 pins have various functions depending on how you have the dip switches set up. We're going to have this set up so that when one of these pins gets grounded out, 00 through 07, when one of those pins gets grounded out, it'll play a different song depending on how that song is labeled. And then after those 8 pins is the busy pin. This pin is normally high, but it goes low when a song is playing or an MP3 is playing. So if you had this hooked up to an Arduino or a Raspberry Pi, you can tell whether or not any song or MP3 is being played. And the bottom is just an extra ground that you can use. Moving to the bottom, you have a 3-switch dip switch, which chooses the various functions of this board. Like I said, we're going to use this in this very simple form where you just simply ground out a pin and it plays the corresponding song. So for that, you want switch 1 is off, 2 is on, 3 is off. To set these switches, obviously, you move the switch towards the word on for the switch to be on, and the other way for the switch to be off. Moving to the right, we have the TF card slot, or the micro SD card slot, which is where you would store your sound or your music files or your special effects, whatever you want to play. The max the card can be is 32 gigabytes. Moving up from the memory card is something that I consider very unique and very cool about this board. It's a standard stereo audio output like you would find on the back of your computer, which means you could plug amplified computer speakers into this to get the sound into your prop. This is really cool feature. Right above the audio jack are 2 more pins. So another cool feature of this board is it has a built-in 5-watt amplifier, which means that these 2 pins right above the audio jack, you can connect the speaker directly to that to get sound to the prop. To the left of those pins for the audio amplifier and the stereo jack, there's a small potentiometer that allows you to adjust the volume for the output of the sound that goes to either the speaker or the audio output jack. And the last thing we have to talk about is the micro USB port. Using a micro USB cable, you can plug that into your computer to transfer the files back and forth between the memory card, so you don't have to keep taking the card in and out. So that is the pinout of the board. Next, I'll show you a diagram of how we're going to be using the board in its simplest mode. Here's the board. We have the dip switches set. We have some buttons connected to it. Now, in this mode for the buttons, when you press the button, even after you release the button, it will continue to play the song. If you notice over to the right, we have named a file 00001-laugh and 00002-groan. Those are the two sounds. Notice how you have a 5-character number, the 00001 and 2. That's how you need to label those 1 through 8. So the corresponding buttons 1 through 8 will activate or play those songs. Notice how when we press the corresponding buttons 1 and 2, the busy line will go from high to low. Now button 2. And that's how this board works in its basic modes. Now what we'll do is we'll go over to the workbench and we'll use the actual board and actual buttons, and we'll show you how this works. Down in the notes, I'm going to put links to where you can get this board and all the other accessories and supplies that I'm using today to show you how to get this thing to work. Here's how the board will come shipped to you. It does not have any headers in these pins, whereas if, on the demo I showed you, right here, it's got the pins and all on it. Okay, so when you get this board, it doesn't have it. It does come with the headers that you can put in here, and then you would solder on here. Okay, or there's an option when you purchase this, again, like I said, the link will be down below, you can have this already assembled. One of the other things you can also do, which I've done with this board right here, is instead of doing the headers, I've actually used wires and soldered them into the connectors. So that might be a little easier for you to do. If you don't feel like tackling the headers, you can just solder some wires right in. So once you have all the headers filed, once you have all these header pins soldered onto the board, this is what the board will look like. Because for the purpose of this video, we're going to use a board that has the headers on here. So here's all the headers for the pins on this row, and then over here there's 2. This is for the connector you want to give to a output to a speaker. And again, like I said, you can always output sound to amplify computer speakers using this standard jack right back here. This board has a lot of different functions. You can address up to over, I think it's 255 different songs simply by addressing these pins over here in a different manner. But I want to use this to show you how to use this in its most simplest form, which is when each one of these 7 pins is touched with a ground, it plays a different song. So these are the settings that you would use for this board for that. These are simple dip switches here. All the way up here is on, down here is off. So to set it for the mode we want, it's pin 1 is off, pin 2 is up or on, and pin 3 is down and off. Let's wire this up and I'll show you how it works. Now this board gets powered by 5 volts. This is a really convenient voltage, and I'll tell you why, because you can use any standard USB phone charger. I recommend something at least 2 amps or higher. This particular one is a 3 amp one, which you can get almost anywhere. I think I picked this up at Five Below. And where we purchased this board at, they also have, let me show you what they have here. They have this USB power cable. Now what this is there's a standard USB connector at one end that would go into the brick. Okay, but at the other end, it's broken out into 4 wires. There's a red and a black, which is your power. Yeah, that's pretty standard. There's also 2 wires here, which are red and green. That's for passing data in between, but we're not using this as a data cable. We're only using this as a power cable. So we can actually use this cable to power this 5 volt prop right here, or this 5 volt board right here. So this cable is really handy. To start wiring this up, I have removed the white and green leads that are on here because those are for data signals, which we're not using. We're only using this power cable for power. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut back to expose a little bit more of the leads here. Be careful you don't cut too deep because you don't want to cut the actual wires. That's the only tricky part about doing this. Okay, so now I've exposed a good amount of lead here. Just going to use my snips to cut this off. And use my wire strippers here to expose some wire. Now what I'm using here are what called Dupont wires, which have male and female ends. Actually, they come with male to male ends, female to female ends, and male to male ends. If you do any kind of prop work, you're going to definitely be using these, especially with Arduinos and boards like this. Let me show you the. So here's the male end. Here would be a female end. And they are real inexpensive, those Dupont wires. They come in a box like this. And I'll put a link down below. I think how many come in this box. There's 120 pieces in here. And I think it's like $4 or $5 for this whole box. And you can use quite a few of them. And I'll tell you why we're going to be using them. Is I have taken some Dupont wires. What I have taken is a male and female one. And I have simply, it was like this, and I have cut it in half. And the reason I'm doing that is we need a female end to go onto here. I also did the same thing with a black lead. Okay, so again, I'm going to use my wire strippers, and I'm going to expose some wire. So now I have two exposed ends. Let's get that into focus for you. On those Dupont wires. And we are simply going to take, I'll take the black one first, and we're just simply going to twist it onto the black power lead. We're going to do the same with the red or the positive. Here's what it looks like. Okay, so now we can get some power to the board. So what we would do now is we would take the red, and all these pins here are labeled. As you can see, oh, you can't really see, but right here, the first two pins are the 5 volt. One pin is labeled negative, the other is labeled positive. So we'll take the positive, put it on the positive pin, put the negative on the negative pin. Okay, which is a little dash. And let me show you right here. There we go. That was easy, huh? Now, some of you more experienced folks out there are going to say, hey, I still got some bare wire showing here after I've got this plugged in. Isn't that a little dangerous? They could short out. Yes, that is true, but I'm just showing you right now how you wire this up. In the final version, what you would do is you would put electrical tape over here. And the even better preferred method is you would solder these connections and then put electrical tape over them. But I'm going to put this on here right now because we're going to be expanding on this in this video. So that's why I don't want to do any wire wrapping yet on these connections, because we're going to be adding to it to show you how to run a relay eventually. First, I'm going to show you how to get sound, and we'll do a relay. Now, to get your sound onto this board, there's an SD card right here. You're going to need to buy yourself an SD card. And again, I'll put a link down below. The company that sells these boards also sells these very inexpensively. You can use MP3 WAV files, whatever you would like. I use MP3 files on here. There's 7 MP3 files on here. As seen in the video, you have to label those files a certain way with a five-digit character number at the beginning. So these are all labeled 00001 all the way through 00007. Remember, because this is binary, how it's labeled on the back that says IO0 is actually IO1, or is actually file 1, but you'll be able to figure that out. So you just put the card on here. Now, if you don't have an SD card reader, there is a USB jack right here. You can plug this using a micro USB. You can plug that right into your computer and transfer your files that way. So, okay, here's what we've got done so far. We have the SD card in with our sounds. We've wired power to the board. The next thing we need to do is we need to get some sound out of here. And I have wired a test speaker right here. Here's a test speaker. and I put some Dupont connectors on the end of this speaker. So all we're going to do is just attach these to the pins for the sound. Now, if you don't want to solder a connection onto here or worry about that, like I said, there is an output jack here. You just need to put some amplified speakers, like a computer speaker set, onto here, which will give you a real good booming sound. But you'll be surprised how this little speaker right here, how well it does. All right, so we have power, sound card. We've got the speaker. Now we have to figure out a way to activate this, and how that does is this one pin, as described in the video. This very last pin here is a ground pin, and when that ground pin hits one of these 7 pins, starting after the power button, it's gonna play one of the 7 songs, or music files, or sound effect files. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take our brick right here. I'm going to plug it in. So I have that plugged in. Use our 1, 2, 3 block to hold this into place. Okay, so here's the board, here's the speaker. Now I'm going to take another Dupont cord I have right here. I'm going to put this female end of this one right on the ground. Okay. So now when I ground this pin that's coming from this ground on the board to one of these pins, we're going to get a sound to play.
I come for the souls of children, but I'll take yours too.
2.
I will forever haunt your dreams. Get out of my graveyard, or you become one of my friends.
Pretty cool, huh? So just by hitting those, you could have this set up to a step pad. With this, you could cut the ends off of a step pad, you know, and connect one lead to this Dupont, and then connect it to one of these pins. And every time they step on that, it's going to play that particular, you know, song that you've chosen. Unfortunately, in the simplest form, it can't cycle through all these or randomize what it plays. With a step pad, you'd have to pick which sound you want to play.
Get out of my graveyard, or you become one of my friends.
Okay, and it will play that song. Now, that's really cool. But here's something that's even better. Let me make some more room here. You probably have seen me use these before, and again, these are available in the link down below. This is a relay, okay? It's a 5-volt relay, or it's activated by 5 volts, okay? Here's your connectors for your common connector, normally open and normally closed, okay? Most of us will use this in a normally open fashion, which means there's no connection until there's a signal, and then it closes the contacts and the motor or the light or whatever blinks. So what I'm going to be doing here is there is a positive and a negative for the relay right here. So I'm going to do basically the same thing that I did with the power for here. I'm going to cut the ends off of here. That's what's great about getting that box of 120 some Dupont cables. You don't have to worry about running out of them when you do things like this. Let me give you guys a little bit better of an angle here. Okay, so again, with my wire strippers, I want to remove some off of the positive. I'm going to remove some off of negative for the relay. And just like before, I'm going to twist this negative on all my other connections for the... And like I said before, just be careful that they don't touch. You know, if you want to put some tape on there to make sure they don't while you're testing, you can, but I just want to show you how this works for right now. Okay, so now as you can see, right here, let me move this all over. Okay, so As you can see, there is a red, simple colors. There is a green LED. That simply means that this relay is now getting power. Okay, so now when we play a song, there's are going to this relay is going to activate, and there is a red LED on here. And let me show you this. I'll play one sound.
I will forever haunt your dreams.
And it didn't work because I didn't hook the sense relay up. So on the third pin of this relay, there is a in pin, which just simply reads the signal coming from something. So you have to take this one, this coming out of this sensor pin right here on the relay, and it goes to the second from the bottom. You know, this cable we had here was the ground. One up from that is the busy line. And that busy line changes when the song is playing. Right now, this is putting out a positive voltage. When the song starts to play, this line goes 0. No volts go through here. And this relay is set up to detect and go off when no voltage is present on this sense pin. That's why it's very important when you buy your relay, and you buy it, you know, as I said, I recommend the company below. There is a jumper here. Okay, in one position, this relay will activate when a high input is put to this sense pin. The other way you do this jumper is it goes off when a low signal or 0 volts goes into the sense pin. And that's how we have it set up, because this board right here puts out 0 volts when it's playing. Okay, so that's why you want to make sure when you buy one of these relays, you can change how this board operates. So let's go back to the overhead here and show you. So here is the green LED again on the relay saying it's got power. Now I'm going to play one of these songs. Now when it does, a red light is going to come on, which means this relay has been activated, which means it will have turned on a motor or a light or whatever you would like.
I will forever haunt your dreams.
And then you saw it go out right here. I'll do it again.
I come for the souls of children, but I'll take yours too.
And it goes out. I was hoping maybe you could, you know, let me zoom in so you can really see it here. Okay, so I've zoomed in here, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ground out one of these pins for the song.
I will forever haunt your dreams.
And you can see that red light went on and off. When that red light's on, that means that relay has been activated, so it's going to turn on your motor, your light, whatever the prop is you would like. So that's really simple. We made a few connections, two boards. So for under, I don't know what the cost would be, but I think it's for under $20, maybe even under 15. You can get sound to any one of your props. We're going to expand in this series a little later. The next video is going to be, we're actually going to drive this board from a very inexpensive Arduino Nano. And what that's going to allow us to do is we're going to be able to pick whichever pin we want to activate. So on that next project, we're going to be able to randomize, tough word for me today, which one of these leads would get activated. So, and we're also going to be hooking it up to a motion sensor. So stay tuned for that video, because that'll be neat. So when somebody walks in front of your prop, it'll pick a random number to play one of these songs. And it'll also have the relay on board. And you can actually, if you wanted to, you can add as many relays as you wanted with the Arduino. You could add as many relays as you want to that board. You could also add several relays to this one too. You could just simply, you know, double up on your power leads. I wouldn't do more than 2 though. So between the real simple power cord powering everything, this inexpensive board, and you know, like I said, this is a 16 gig SD card. You could certainly use one that's lower than that. It's really less expensive. And then using a real inexpensive relay, you've got a real interesting way and an expensive way to add sound and motion to your prop. Hopefully you guys are able to follow along and figure out how to do that project. If you have any questions at all, please leave a message in the comments below and I'll get back to you to further detail what was going on. I was just really anxious to get this video out to you guys because it is the end of March. Halloween's not that far away for us haunters. You know, we start planning Halloween on November 1st. So I wanted to get this out here, so we have a whole bunch of other stuff coming. One of the following other series that we're going to be doing is, this is a real static haunted doll, I guess they call it, sinister spirit doll that I picked up real inexpensive at the end of the season at Spirit Halloween. It doesn't do anything. And one of the series I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be adding sound to that and motion with servos using an Arduino. And we're going to be doing that real inexpensively with a new board that Arduino's got out. So that'll be really cool. Add some lights, add some sound to this. I might even make a case to go over it, like a glass case, so it looks like it's on display and then it moves. So that's one of the things coming up. So if you liked this video and you thought it was helpful, please hit the like button below. And if you want to see more of what we're doing with the electronics and everything else for Halloween, be sure to hit subscribe. And if you want to be notified when those videos come out, be sure to hit the bell. So until next time, thanks for stopping by the Maker's Cave, and we'll see you at the next build. Oh, I was getting ready to fade out when I forgot to tell you. Once again, there'll be a link to everything that I did down here below. The companies where I bought, well, actually it was one company where I bought all these supplies at to do it. A couple of them came from Amazon. I'll put links there to them too. So please, if you have any questions, like I said, just leave them in the comments below. See ya.